off decluttering and organizing this hall closet in a previous episode and got it fully organized. However, the next most logical step is going right across the hall into the master bathroom. That was a little embarrassing. Let's give it a minute and then we'll head right in. Last you saw, as I was gathering some of the stuff off from here, it was in a lot more of disarray. I had guests over, which meant naturally I shoved everything that was all on the counter into the cabinet. I'm going to go over to voiceover Holly in a minute because I don't even like listening to it as I'm in the bathroom, so I certainly don't expect you to listen to it for an entire video. I have started cramming so many things into this cabinet, including things that don't even belong here because I was in such a rush when I had company come over and I was just trying to get stuff off of the counter. The other thing that has helped the counter situation is that instead of using a take it there now approach, I started implementing where if I know I have things that I'm about to work on, say, the hall closet, but there are things scattered about the house that belong inside the hall closet. I have also started by using bring it here now methodology, so that way when I do move to another room of the house or another area, it's less for me to take care of, especially since I knew those things belonged there to begin with. And occasionally I will miss things in that bring it there now effort, but overall it does help significantly and it helps compartmentalize what area I'm working in at any given point. I started off this cabinet by simply wanting to just take care of the things that I knew I wanted to get out of here, things that I felt were trash or I wanted to get rid of. I knew I had some Bath & Body Works fragrances that I didn't enjoy as much once I got them out of the store and tried them at home, and that's not uncommon. When you go to somewhere where there's an abundance of fragrances and just the atmosphere is full of perfumes, it can be so incredibly difficult to make an accurate assessment of whether you enjoy something or not, especially long term, and how it will react with your skin because there's just so much going on. I think it's okay to give yourself some grace in those moments. That said, I will never pay full price for that reason, and I've started going down to the little minis, and if something is not available in the mini, I simply don't get it anymore. But the ones that I am keeping, I do actually use somewhat seasonally. So the two pink ones I tend to do more in the fall and a little bit into the winter time. They're just a little bit heavier, more like vanilla kind of bases. And it's kind of funny, the one that I was getting ready to get rid of, when it fell into the sink, a tiny part of me was like, oh no, it broke. Oh no. And then it didn't actually break, and so that was for sure my sign that if I was half hoping it would break and I could just get rid of it. But because it's still perfectly usable, I am going to take it into work and put it in our little area of, hey, free stuff, anyone's welcome to take this. That's a pretty common practice at work, especially for stuff like this. The only thing I was unsure of is if that's really okay to do with like body gels, like shower gels. That's what I was getting at. So let me know what you think on that one, if it's a partially used shower gel. Fragrances and lotions, for some reason that seems to be more acceptable, and maybe I just haven't noticed when people bring shower gels in, if they do or not. I don't know why it feels weird, but it does. So let me know what you think. And I am also conscientious of, I don't want to dump my stuff on other people if I don't like it. However, in these situations, I think it is okay to pass them around a little bit, especially since it gives people a chance to try something they may not know if they want to keep long term. Also, it's a choice that someone's going to make. So even if I put it out in the open for free, if nobody takes it, then I can dispose of it. But if someone does take it, it's not my fault that they took it. There's a good chance that they might have bought it, or they will take it from someone eventually anyway. And it's not for me to judge whether I'm adding to their clutter or any hoarding tendencies. So if that's ever been a concern of yours, I'm going to lift that off your shoulders. That is not for you to determine or judge. Those one or two things are not going to be what defines someone's level of clutter. We know it's not just one or two things, or even 5 fragrances if I end up taking 5 in. So that's just a little side tangent for me. The temporary tattoos, I was completely getting ready to trash them, but I happened to remember that this Friday is Bring Your Kid to Work Day, because for some reason that sounds fun to some people. I'm trying to contain my excitement. Anyway, I thought that would be also fun to bring into work and be able to hand out to the kids, and if I forget to bring them this Friday, then they're certainly going in the trash. In case you doubted how much I really do like the Marc Jacobs Fine Liner eyeliners, I did find a second one, which feels unfortunate if I had to trash 2 of them. They were not cheap, and also they're my favorite, so that does feel kind of sucky. But I so appreciate whoever it was who commented and said, hey, these might be making a comeback in 2025, and I will definitely be keeping my eyes peeled for those. It was at this point that I felt like I was on a trajectory that I wanted to continue to go and dig deeper and actually fully do this whole cabinet, because I was feeling that momentum and I was feeling inspired by all of the stuff that I was pulling out and trashing and wanting to get rid of. And a lot of this is very old makeup, at least 3 or 4 years old. And I know some of them will last longer, but the truth of the matter is I wasn't reaching for them. I do really enjoy these Maybellines, but I am reaching for a different foundation. The other thing I have noticed is I don't have particularly textured skin, but for some reason, certain shades of this particular Maybelline foundation it was settling weird into my pores, and I don't even have huge pores either. So I don't know if it's a skin type issue or if when I purchased them, they were already getting old in the packages on the shelf. I have no idea. It's hard to say with stuff like that because I don't know how drugstores know how long their inventory is out for sale at any given point, but I do now have a different tried and true. The other thing that was really funny is that, why did I have a painter's tool in here? I know why I did. I was using it to, pry like goo off of the wall from one of those Command type hooks that was a little bit stickier. Well, it wasn't the Command brand, so don't go after them, but it was an off brand and it was sticking a little bit harder and I needed a little bit more help and I didn't put it away. And I recently did a reaction to A to Zen Life with Marissa, and she talks about habits of messy people, and I mean, I call it a lack of habit, but I guess that is the habit, is that I set it down right where I was at, and I didn't actually go and put it in with the rest of my tools where it actually belongs. And so I am working very hard to actually, I don't want to say reset my brain, but kind of retrain myself to recognize when I'm acting outside of something that's going to help me in the future and help maintain a level of tidiness at least. So, work in progress for sure. The other thing is I started to struggle with the cabinets and how the shelves were actually set out, and how I don't know if I just never noticed that these shelves are adjustable, or I wasn't motivated enough to ever adjust the shelves to suit my purposes. So because I was already just down this rabbit hole, and this is not a particularly large cabinet, and I was removing so many things off of the shelves and getting ready to trash them, I decided it was okay to go ahead and make those adjustments and just make the space work for me. And I know I have to do something about this cruddy, rusty bottom. I don't know exactly what to put here. I mean, at this point, even a piece of cardboard would be a massive improvement. I don't think contact paper is really going to stick or anything like that, but I am certainly open to suggestions. And if nothing else, at some point I can clear off one of these shelves and use it as a template for cardboard or some nicer material so that it's not so just gross. I don't know if I feel motivated to paint over the rust, if that's a thing, because I know there's paints that will, I don't know, I guess I would assume that's what Rust-Oleum does, is help neutralize the rust. I don't know. I know I should know because my degree is in chemistry, but spoiler alert, you don't learn everything there is to know about chemistry and every reaction under the sun in your time as a student. And even though my work does offer a few types of coatings, they're not a huge portion of our business, so I'm just not as familiar with how those things work, but at least I know people who might know stuff like that. So that's going to be another whole rabbit hole at some point. To be perfectly honest, I did not intend to go to the level of putting stuff back on the shelf in a way that's almost store display-like, but because I had the extra room, I figured I may as well make it a little bit nicer, even if I don't fully maintain it. At the end, you know, I did some shuffling around and made it, I don't know, I spent more time on this than absolutely necessary. I probably could have cut a few minutes down on my time in here, but honestly, I was kind of enjoying it, and I do enjoy my perfumes enough that even in the past when I really collected perfumes, I always enjoyed going to the level of having them at least nice to look at. I don't know how well I'm going to maintain that, but at some point in the future, we'll have to come back and see if I'm maintaining this level or at least some semblance of neatness. And if I decide to get rid of any additional fragrances besides the one that I clearly did not enjoy. Good thing it was a sample and I don't think I paid for it. I don't remember if it's one of those ones where it's like, hey, add this sample on for $1. And if I did, at least it was only probably $1 at that point. So thank goodness for samples. And of course, I'm very small. Scentbird might not care about me yet, but I'm interested because I'm constantly in the Scentbird site wondering if I should just bite the bullet and do a subscription. I know I'm trying to kind of maintain how much stuff I have, but perfumes are right up there with makeup palettes in that I enjoy them enough that I don't mind collecting them to a certain degree, and as long as I keep them manageable, that's the main thing I'm going for. And I think I do like that model of Scentbird where it really is like a small size that you can get through. That's another reason why I've gotten away from getting those huge Bath & Body Works sprays, is because no human should go through that in a reasonable amount of time. I don't know, unless you're like a college kid in a cloud of dust, but I feel like that's like a guy thing with Axe body sprays, but maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you know someone who actually, that's a good question. Have you ever used a full-size Bath & Body Works fragrance spray? I'd be really curious to hear if anyone has actually done that. And if you have, I would imagine that's like the only thing you've used for however long that you had that. I don't know. I haven't even gone through a mini size at this point, and there's one that's sitting on my desk at work that is at the age where I half expect that at any given point I'm going to spray it and it's not going to smell the same and enjoyable anymore. But anyway, all that to say is I'm very curious about Scentbird, and if you've also had experience with Scentbird, please let me know, and if that's something that I should consider and reach out to them about. At this point, I was slightly regretting my decision to pull just about everything out of the cabinet because seeing it all laid out was feeling super overwhelming, even though I knew most of it was going into the trash. But my eyeballs just kept seeing, well, actually it was my brain interpreting what my what my eyeballs were seeing, and it was just so much stuff that, I mean, it was just feeling like I was getting into a slog of having to deal with this. And the only thing that really kept me going is just reminding myself how much easier it's going to be in the mornings to get ready for work, because I am super not a morning person. And stuff like this is just going to make it so much easier to be able to actually have a functioning bathroom and not just stuff thrown everywhere, even where it doesn't belong. This video is brought to you by Queso's emergency vet bill for what turned out to be a respiratory issue requiring steroids, immediately disqualifying him from the 2024 Olympic Kiddie Parkour events. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and if you like, become a member of the channel by hitting the join button. Thanks so much in advance for helping recover these funds. Part of me is a little bit horrified at how much stuff I am getting rid of. In particular, how gross some of those sponges must be, because they probably came from the apartment at this point, which means they're probably 4 or 5 years old and full of makeup gunk. So, anyway, and the makeup removers, I know some of those, the last time I went to grab a wipe out of them, they were totally dried up, and I have actually learned recently the best trick for storing them is to store them so that the little peely flap goes down. So it might feel silly to store a little packet of makeup wipes upside down or up against something, but that is the most effective way if it doesn't have a snap top lid. And even those snap top lids, I've noticed, don't do the best job at mitigating the drying outness of wipes. There's another new word. I did end up checking the Marc Jacobs eyeliner, and the end of it was dried out, but there was quite a bit of product in there, and if I just broke the end off, it is still perfectly usable, so I'm very happy about that. And now for the big reveal. I also thought these bright blue towels looked fun and might brighten the bathroom, which they did. However, the quality is awful and they are going back to Amazon immediately, and I'm just going to have to pick out something in person that I can check the dye-lot and really how they feel. And I didn't think I was a towel snob, but truly I have gotten better quality from Dollar General for way less money. So for now, it's back to the purple towels. Then it was time to move on to this strange alcove in the master bathroom. At least I'm decent, because down below these shelves is where the litter boxes live, so I'm pretty judicious of what goes above it. This little shelfie thing I once got at the Target dollar spot area, except I think it was like a $3 or $5 item. It seemed useful at the time for cute little baby plants, and that's going in the Time Will Tell maybe box. This was relatively easy to get rid of some of these things. I don't sit and take baths. I don't know why I have all this extra stuff. I never remember that I have the wet skin lotion stuff. And also, that's super old. That's probably going on 10 years old at this point. So I don't know why I keep keeping it. But these are things that we do, and it was time to let it go. I'm not planning on doing any decluttering here because I've been trying to use up as many products as possible in collecting the empties for a year-end empty review, so it's just a matter of cleaning. And yes, I know eventually that will need to be resealed with, you know, the stuff that you would reseal it with. Because I don't know if I can enunciate that word well enough to not make YouTube angry. So I knew a lot of what was in this bathroom, or, well, in particular in that cabinet, was going to be trash, but I didn't fully expect to fill an entire grocery bag full of absolute trash. Things that are long expired for sure. So this feels pretty good. I'm curious to know how you feel about having that empty shelf and leaving it as an empty shelf. I'm going to challenge myself not to fill it with anything for the remainder of the year. We'll see how I do with that. Okay, now that the product candy has had a chance to settle into my skin, so it's been sitting maybe a half hour or an hour at this point. The initial, I don't know what it was. It was almost astringent or something. It was weird to me. That's worn off, and it is definitely more of a candy, not quite cotton candy, not quite gummy bear, somewhere in that tone. It's personally not for me, so I'll also put that in the work pile, simply because it is such an incredibly expensive fragrance. I would imagine it's Prada. I don't know the actual price. I'm taking a wild guess. So if someone wants to try it or have a little bit of a treat of it, then they can have it, because it's just not my style, and I would choose to toss it anyway, and someone else may enjoy it. And it's not the most awful thing, so if someone at work uses it, I'm not going to be totally mad about it. It's so interesting that I went into starting on this bathroom with the mindset of really just doing trash and easy declutters, which I guess that was the bulk of it, so it didn't take a bunch of mental bandwidth. I certainly went over the 5-ish minutes in my mind that I was going to spend in there, but I feel like that still speaks to the power of just starting with 5 minutes in mind, because I ended up being like, all right, well, I'm already in this mode, I'm seeing progress, I'm feeling motivated, and I'm going to do more than I set out to do. If I'd only spent 5 minutes pulling out just the trash and stuff I don't use anymore, it still would have been a massive win in my mind. So keep going at whatever pace you need to go at. I have even heard of just doing 1 minute chunks and stuff like that, even throughout the day. I have noticed, even going outside, I've started implementing just pulling a few weeds here and there, so I don't have, to me right now, weeds are an obnoxious task, but if I'm just going to take out the trash, then I pull 5 weeds, throw them in the fire pit, and then keep on moving on or whatever. And if there are ones that are sucky to pull and I can't grab them all the way by the root and I didn't have gloves with me, then I don't deal with those right now. That's fine. And look at her. She really wants to play right now. Queso is not feeling so good. He gets really grumpy and bleh whenever he's about to have a hairball, so looking forward to that probably at 2 a.m. I'm sure. But so he hasn't been super playful with her today, and so I'm gonna go ahead and play with her. And Chloe's trying to with the trap again. Oh, actually she wasn't too bad. I'm impressed. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me and Madeline and Chloe and, well, Queso in spirit. He's usually around for videos anyway, and I cannot wait to visit with you in the next one. Bye.